Good day. Welcome to another episode of the RoadFS Podcast. I can't believe it. We coordinated outfits
I know, we didn't
today.
even talk. Yeah.
We have so many RoadFS and Detail Bookie shirts. It's like, and I have a really cool one. Tomorrow I leave for Mexico City for Detail Expo Mexico, and I have a really cool shirt designed specifically to show unity and collaboration between the States and Mexico and Spanish. So I'm really excited about that. So if you're going to Detail Expo Mexico, I will be there and I can't wait. I will see you tomorrow.
Yep.
So anyway, let's jump into the show. I am Jody. You are still Rod.
Last time I checked, I was still Rod. I get up every morning, I look in the mirror and I go, nope, not Brad Pitt.
Not Brad Pitt.
So I am still Rod. And we have a really awesome guest today that we've been wanting to get on here a long time. We've got Jacki Orlando from down in Florida. How are you today?
Hello, I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing
awesome. You look like $1 million as always. So we're super excited to have you. So why are you going?
My chair just dropped.
What are you trying to be short like me?
Jody's height. There, now I'm getting down to Jody's level.
Hey, wow! I've never been taller than anybody else. I don't know what that's like. So anyway, well, good morning. So we are super excited. If you guys haven't heard the news, back in January, we brought the Detail Bookie into the family. And that has been quite the ride. We brought in Mitch, the developer. We still are collaborating and talking to Dustin Jackson. We were talking to him yesterday. And probably the bright and shiny moment is bringing Jacki to the team. So we are super excited. So welcome, Jacki.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I'm really excited to be part of the team now.
So let's talk about your journey in detailing. So you've been in the game a long time. How'd you get started?
Yeah, so I've been in the car wash and detailing industry in general for over 12 years now. I started out, this is going to age me a bit, but I moved to Orlando and I answered a Craigslist ad to work at a car wash.
Nice.
I don't think people find jobs on Craigslist anymore. So but I answered I needed a job and they were hiring and they hired me. And so I didn't know anything about washing cars, but I learned. And my time there, I worked up to be one of the managers. The business had opened up a second location. When they opened that location, made me general manager of that. Unfortunately, that location had to be closed. Nothing terrible, but like that wasn't working out at that location, landlord, the space, whatever. So when he closed that one, he made me GM of the original location. And I had originally wanted to add a mobile detailing division to the company I worked for. And the owner was like interested, but I sort of felt like I was in a place where I could get things done faster myself. So no hard feelings. I gave my resignation and that was it. And I started my own mobile detailing business. And that started in May of 2019. Today actually is my anniversary of that. Then May 1st of 2019 was
awesome.
Was when I started my mobile detailing business.
Well, happy anniversary.
Yeah.
I just realized it was May 1st.
It's like mobile-versary, we'll call it.
Mobile-versary.
Yeah, there you go.
So you actually, and I've said this before, but like, to me, you have one of the coolest business names, but it also lends itself very well for expansion, right? You could be Jacki Austin, or you could have Jacki Portland, or whatever. It's a really good way if people consciously wanted to expand their business. So you don't just do mobile detailing. You've expanded a lot. So you're kind of an entrepreneurial mind.
Yeah. So, as far as the detailing specifically goes, yes, I'm only mobile, but I do work with a lot of the detailers in Orlando as well. Like I'm always, if there's something that I can't do, then I'll refer them to one of my friends in Orlando that has a shop. Or if I can't get to somebody, then I'll refer them to another mobile detailer. So yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah. So, and that's been really cool because when we were down there in Florida in January or the end of January, February for MTE, and we talked, that's kind of a different mentality. So many detailers won't collaborate like that or won't send people off. And you've always been very open and approachable. Like I think the first time I met you was at Detailers. Where was it at? It was in Kentucky at the Southern Detailers Conference.
Was that the first time we met?
Yep. And then I saw you at the Pro booth, and I sent somebody over there, our friend Sarah.
Oh, yes. Okay, I remember, yeah.
Sarah was pretty shy about talking to people, and I was like, you just need to go to talk to Jacki. She's really cool. You'll get along well. So,
hey, Tony.
Yeah, there's Mr. Tony.
Tony,
one of the most
one of the most iconic dudes in the industry.
Yeah, I'm trying to grow my hair out like Tony, but it's not working well.
No, it's not.
So you also,
Tony, I want to say something real quick to Tony. Yeah. Tony and Glass Parency were one of the first people who really supported me in my business, because when I first opened, I talked to them and I added Glass Parency to my business. So I've literally known Tony and the whole Glass Parency team since I opened my business. Like they were there with me like from the start. So
let's talk about that, because I think that's an important thing. When you're first starting out in your mobile detailing business or your detailing business, but especially mobile detailing, having the right network to talk to people and identify the products that are going to serve you well. How did you work through deciding, who you were going to bring into your business to offer the services that you were going to offer?
So I had known about Glass Parency for several months, I think, even before I started my business. Because it was something that I was considering adding to the shop, the location that I worked at. So then when I went off on my own, I was like, all right, this is like a no-brainer. So I'd already like known about them and had, Sarah, I just saw Sarah's comment.
Yeah. Sarah's awesome.
Yeah.
You're always so positive. So
yeah, I love Sarah. It was so great meeting her. But yeah, so I had known about Glass Parency for months before that, and I'd just kind of looked into the company, and I don't know, kind of just done my own research, I guess. Just kind of trying to see if it was something that I would be able to do. The ease of use of the product was really important to me. Another thing I did in the beginning stages of my business. One of my friends here in Orlando, he has a shop, Alex Russell. Shout
out to Alex.
Yeah. So he was there with me at MTE 2020. Mm-hmm. And I dragged him around to like every single booth. Like I don't think he knew what he signed up for when he was like, hey, yeah, I'll walk around with you. And I dragged him to every single booth, and I talked to everybody there, and I had bags of stuff and everything. And like all these, the pamphlets and flyers and sample products and everything. I had bags of stuff when I came home, and he was like, I didn't think you were going to go talk to everybody. He's like, I wouldn't have even thought to talk to that person. Like, I don't think that I would use that in my business. And I was like, you know what? Maybe after talking to them, I don't think I would either, but like, I didn't know. So I just wanted to go talk to everybody and see, I don't know.
Yep.
I love that, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. And until you go up and make an introduction and you ask about somebody's product, you have no idea if it's a good fit for your business or for you. Yeah.
No, it's really important to, I don't know, just be open to trying things. So this is something that applies to a lot of different aspects of business, but What works for me in my business might not work for somebody else in their business, and what works for them might not work for me either.
Yep.
So for someone to say like, oh, this is what I use, and like this is the only thing I'll use, and like this is, I don't know. I will listen to other people's experiences, but also I'm going to make decisions for myself and what works for me, because every person's business is unique to them. Their goals are unique. Their business methods, everything, so I think that the best products are whatever works for you, and you don't know what that is until you actually, find out information and try it. So
Yeah, for sure. Because there's some products that are that are engineered for that work really well in specific climates,
mhm.
but they don't work in other ones, right? For instance, you might have a product that doesn't work really well in super cold environments, but works really well in a high humidity environment, and
Mhm.
vice versa. And so what works for you in Orlando, Florida is not necessarily going to work in Boise, Idaho, or Maine, or anywhere else. But and I think that's what most people need to be open to that. And I love people that are loyal to a company, that really like a specific company, and that's awesome.
Rinseless. I do love Rinseless. I was really nervous about trying Rinseless. Alex is also the person who made me try it,
Yeah.
and kind of showed me the actual way to do it, because I was misinformed the first time I tried it. And I was like, no, I don't like this. I don't like this. And then he was like, no, I do it. Like, I think it'll be really beneficial. He was like, come to my shop and let's wash your car, and I will show you the way that I do it. And he showed me on my own car, and I was like, oh, this is so much easier. This is really beneficial. This will work. Oh, hi, Amanda. That's what that's
Yep.
Well, the thing that I like about that story is that you found a mentor in the industry that was willing to walk with you, to be open to sharing his experience, being open to walk a show with you, even though he was like probably inclined to just walk by half of them, right? And
Mhm.
so it shows to me, two sides of that story. Here you were so eager to learn, and you were looking for somebody to help you and give you some direction. But then on the flip side, you had somebody that also was going, wait, I hadn't thought about that before. Right. So it's like both of us need to continually be growing and learning and being open to new things.
Yeah, and the,
Yeah.
the the main thing with that story is that Alex is not quite the thug life that he leads on. He's helpful. He probably actually does wash the rocker panels.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the first clue is he's wearing a turquoise blue
Well, yeah,
Aquatech
that's
thing.
true.
That's
That's true.
not the gangster kind of
And
stuff.
he goes to cheer events like on the dailies.
I know.
We
It's
love
like-
Alex. He's really an open guy, and it's actually it's funny because there's not like a competitive nature among podcasts. And
No,
so Alex,
Detail Solutions Podcast.
we've sat down
Listen.
and talked to Alex extensively and had some really good conversations. Hey, what do you guys use for this? What do you use for that? And I think that's what's important, is to understand that there's a lot of products out there in any industry, any forum. And again, like back to the rinseless thing, you might find a rinseless product that you really like, and it may not necessarily be the one that everybody thinks it is, but that works for you, right? Like I've used all three of the versions of one rinseless product. I liked it when the first version came out, but it left a little bit. It felt like it just left something on. Now the third version of that product is great. It doesn't leave anything. But there's other products that kind of leapfrogged over those two versions and started out that way. So, that's kind of, I think, being open to trying new things, and understanding that if it's the first time you've used something, you might not get the same result as somebody else.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's really important.
So let me ask you a question about mobile detailing specifically, right? I mean, you're working outside. When you're first starting, you're probably relying a little bit on what the customer has versus what you have. And maybe not, right? Because some people, they invest very heavily in a mobile van, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
day one pretty self-sufficient, right? So how did you begin that process of building your business and building a kind of experience? Because I think you really got a mobile detailing has to be an experience, right?
Yes.
How did you build that?
So for me, I definitely I didn't start out with, everything. I started out using customers, electric and water. I went out and got 200 feet of extension cords or something like that so that I could use electric wherever. I had, oh my gosh, in the beginning, I had one client that was in she was on the second story. It was like a 2-story duplex. She was on the second story, and that was the only outlet was to run it upstairs, right in her front door. And I had to detail. I didn't have a generator or anything at the time. So I started out using customers, electric and water. I did start out with a filtration system. So I grabbed a portable filtration system. So even though I was hooked up to their water, it was still filtered and good quality water. And then I think it was maybe a year in, and I started doing, I started going to offices, and they would not allow me to use their power and water. You had to bring your own stuff. So at that point, I actually, I did get a generator, and I honestly hated it. I really hated it so much. And so I actually started using, there was another mobile detailer at the time. And he used a Milwaukee battery vacuum. And he was like, here, this is the one that I use. And so I got a Milwaukee battery vacuum and extra backup batteries. And then instead of using a generator, I started using battery operated vacuum. And then I think it wasn't even until another year later that I got my water tank. So before I had my water tank, I was bringing so much water with me. I had 2 5-gallon buckets that could fit in my vehicle. Because also I didn't have a van yet. I started out with just an SUV. So I had 2 5-gallon buckets of water. And then what we did for the rest of it is just single gallons. And I fit so much, we would just squeeze them into any part of the vehicle that we possibly could. I think the most water that I got I fit in my SUV with all of my equipment and everything was, I think it was 32 gallons total.
Wow.
So I had a 5-gallon bucket, a 5-gallon bucket, and 10 or 20
22 gallons.
Single gallons. And so what we were doing too is because I had the water filtration system, so then that I kept at my house, and I would refill all the gallons. So at the end of every day, I would sit there with a hose and refill a gallon and refill a gallon.
Oh my God.
20 gallons, single gallons of water. And so that's how I started doing that. And then, in 2021, I got a van and I had space for a water tank. And even then, I didn't really I didn't operate with a big water tank. I got a 35-gallon. And I think a lot of detailers, when they hear me say that, like, oh my God, that's not enough. How could you possibly? That's crazy. What do you mean? And I'm like, I mean, honestly, using rinseless saves a lot of water because you are cutting out that that last rinse step before drying. You can do all kinds of pre-rinse and pre-treat and whatever you want. Anything that isn't rinseless compatible does have to be rinse off. But once you go in with the rinseless wash, then you just go straight to drying. So it saves a lot of water. And I was able to do, I think, with that 35-gallon tank, up to 6 to 8 maintenance washes with that 35 gallons. If it was like a different job, then maybe I would use more. So I kind of just had to look at what was going on for the day. But yeah, we would go to some locations and like that office that I started out. And I had multiple clients there, and we would do like anywhere from 5 to 8 vehicles every time we went there with just the 35 gallons. So you kind of make it work. you don't have to start out with everything. Like you said, there are some people that invest a lot in an initial setup, and that's what works for them, and that's great. And I did not have the funds to do that.
Yeah.
So I started with what I could.
Yeah.
And
I've seen some crazy stuff. Like, I've seen people that will go to like a farm supply store and get a weed sprayer and put their rinseless in a weed sprayer so that they can,
I
kind
do
of
that.
mist it on, and then it lasts longer. You're making a larger amount to start with, but then you're making it last longer. And I think the key to that is to deciding what kind of jobs you're going to take on too. I mean, you're not going to take a 25 or 35 gallon water tank to like a mud bog and try to clean something off. You're going to run out of it. But on the flip side of that, if you're doing something where you're in maybe a marina and you've got a 35 gallon tank with an electric or a battery pump, and you can do it there, or if you're doing a lot of rinseless, I think that's just more of the, again, that using your mind in your business and understanding what you want to do. We were one time, Jody and I were in California at a detail supply store there. It's a 3D. And we just kept watching people like constantly backing up, getting DI water and filling up these giant tanks of water and all this stuff. And I'm like, you guys are in California. There's already restrictions on water, and you guys are just dumping hundreds of gallons of water. Get into the
rinseless, baby. Rinseless.
Come on. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things is figuring out what you want to do. And then you've kind of turned that into, I mean, how many cars a week are you able to turn in your business with just your regular customers?
So mine is like a lot less, I feel like, than what most detailers maybe do. Or well, maybe more than some detailers, because I was doing like a lot of maintenance washes. So some people might only do like a couple cars a week because they're doing like paint correction, coating, all these things, and their vehicles are taking longer. I was doing anywhere between like 2 to 10 maintenance washes a day, depending on the day. Like sometimes we'd go to an office and we'd have like a bunch all in one day. And then like the next day we'd have like decon wax and 2 maintenance washes or like something. So, I also, one of the other different things about my business, and again, this worked for me, this may not work for everyone. And this is something that I think a lot of people look at me like I'm crazy when I tell them this. I only worked, my business hours were, 5 or 6 hours. So I would start at 7 in the morning and I would be done by like 12, 1 o'clock. So yeah, could I have done more cars if I had extended my hours? Yeah, but that really wasn't what worked for me and the way that my individual goals were. Right. I did that for a long time working at the shop that I worked at before, and I would work like 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. Yeah. And do so many cars, and that all came into the shop, whatever. And I didn't want to do that anymore. And I just made the decision. Like when I first started, I was kind of working all kinds of hours because at that point I was like, all right, I just need to build my customer base. And so I kind of worked whatever. There were times where it was dark and I was still finishing up a car. And we had started first thing in the morning. But then as I got a good customer base, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I changed my hours and I slowly cut them down.
I love that.
I think that's what, there's a lot of people that as they mature in the business, they understand these are my individual goals. Like you were talking about Alex earlier. Alex won't take on 5 cars a day. It's not what he wants to do. And there's so many other people that do it. Nathan Warren, when he was in Indiana, he had a really specific way that he did his work. And it was the way he wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's what people don't understand is you have the ability to do that when you're setting up a business. You can run it the way you want, but there's a balance between making all the money in the world and your life. And I think that that's hard for a lot of people to understand. They get so trapped into this mindset that, oh man, if you're not pulling in this much money a month, you're not successful. Well, that's just not true. there's a lot of
Dude, getting off at noon every day, especially now that it's coming summer, dude, I could spend a lot of time on the boat. I'd be super happy.
Exactly.
that was a big thing for me. So one of the things that also kind of pushed me in that direction, is, like I said, when I first started, I was just taking whatever. Like I would take any appointment anytime, just trying to build a customer base. And then I kind of sort of set it to like 9 to 5. And then I was like, okay, I don't want to be working like this late. So I'll do like, all right, we'll do like 8 to 3. And then I was like, all right, well, it's still so hot. We're going to do 7 to 1. And then, in the hottest months of the summer, I stop at noon because I was like, it is too hot in Florida. It would be like 11 o'clock and 90 degrees. And some of our places, we don't have shade. So we're just in full sun. And I'm like, I don't, that's my health. But then,
I was actually talking to a guy today in Jacksonville, and it was in the morning. It was 9 o'clock in the morning here. It was already 85 degrees there. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really smart as far as your health too. And this is a great question coming in from YouTube. You can make so much money solo. Is it worth it to scale? That's one of those, to me, that's an individual decision.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If I'm scaling my business, what I'm doing is I'm passing off the work onto somebody else. And yes, I'm going to take a little less money, but I'm going to gain a lot of stuff. There is a cutover point where it doesn't make sense. And that's the same in our business too. Software engineers, there's a cutover point where you've got too many on a project. And so I think it's an individual decision, but that's a really good question.
I love that question too, from the perspective of, I think a lot of mobile detailers, they hear all of these stories of, oh, you're not successful unless you're doing X dollars a year or whatever. And you know what? If you're making the money that you're comfortable with and you're able to get off at noon, that's a freaking amazing lifestyle business, right? You have that.
Yeah.
But it also made me think about my conversation with Kirk Evans when I was in Denver at the last training. And he said, at one point I had 20 plus employees. I was doing dealerships, and there were events that happened in my life that made me realize that I needed to scale back. And so I sold my property. I sold everything. I got completely out of debt. And now I have the freedom to take on the types of jobs that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's empowered me to travel and promote and be part of the industry through Detailers of the Roundtable and the aviation detailing. So I love that question because it's okay not to scale.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's all individual stuff. Michael's got some good questions here. We're going to throw some of these out there. This is more of a thing. Maintenance washes are great for turnover. That's his main focus. And then this is a really good question. I want to hear what you have to say to this one.
Yeah, I thought. So for quick rinseless washes in the full sun. So the way that I learned to do it is to kind of work panel by panel. And that probably sounds crazy.
Nope.
Because you're not having, you're not getting the other panels wet. So then you're not getting water spots. So you're just focusing on this one area. So you've got your buckets with you. A lot of people will do rinseless with just a single bucket. I still prefer the 2-bucket method. That's, again, your preference. But definitely put it in a dolly, right? So with the wheels, and you take it around with you, and you have your drying towel with you, and you have your, sponge. You wash a section and you immediately go dry it. There is no time for there to be water spots.
Right.
And again, you can still prep the cars. A lot of times what I would do is, Shane talking. Basically just going around the car. Like you start in one section, you just go panel by panel, like do the top first, knock that out, and then go this door, fender, hood, fender, door, and then like trunk or whatever.
That because we have really high swings in temperature, right? It'll be negative 5 to 10 degrees in the winter.
I don't know how you guys do that.
summer. So we get really high temperature swings. It's also low humidity. So it's a really intense heat, but there's no humidity. So stuff dries really fast.
Really fast.
So that's what Jody and I are shaking our head. I'm like, that's what we just do. You have to do it a panel at a time. Even sometimes if you're in the shade and it's that hot, you're doing it a panel at a time, because if you get the whole car wet, I mean, you couldn't foam cannon something out here like that one.
No way.
You've got to be in the shade and you've got to have the ability to rinse it down. I actually watched a guy do that once in the sun not with rinseless. He was doing one fender at a time, rinsing it off, drying it.
Yeah.
At a time, and it was amazing. But he did it, and I think that's a really good tip on how to do it in the sun if you don't have that tent or that shaded area.
So when I worked at the car wash, we did full soap washes in the sun, and basically and we didn't have shade in our wash station. We didn't have shade. And basically, we would have one or two people washing the car, and one person would just be sitting on the pressure washer and like spraying and like misting, and they would go around, and as soon as one of the they were done washing this section, they would immediately wash it off, and then they would like mist to keep the soap still wet on there, and then like the area that had been rinsed still mist, and so you just had to keep it wet the whole time. And it was a lot to do it that way. Yeah. And again, like I mentioned before, with using the water with rinseless, using a lot more water that way to try and keep the car wet until you are ready to dry it.
Yep. And I started seeing some bad stuff. So as soon as it started getting warm, foam cannon is a luxury around here. And
it's the same here, Michael.
So it's the same thing.
I would never foam cannon my.
I foam cannon, but I have to do it in the shade, and I have to do it in the morning when it's cool.
I don't have any shade in my house.
So one of the things I started seeing as soon as it started getting warm is I saw somebody that had sprayed. It was a non-acid based wheel cleaner. There's a lot of them out there. There's Chocolate Thunder. There's a bunch of different ones. But they had sprayed a non-acid based wheel cleaner and went around the other side. They sprayed all 4 tires, all 4 wheels. They came back around and they're like, I washed it off and now there's all these spots. What did I do? And I'm like,
I knew where that was going.
You let it dry on the car. So you even have to do that if you're using a product like that. You have to spray it on and then immediately agitate it and get it off of there, because you're just causing yourself problems. And most of this stuff has been learned by trial and error, and I focus on the error. There's a lot of stuff people do, and that's how they learn.
I would say that all the time when I was like training any new staff that worked for me. I would tell them something and I'd be like, and you know why I know this? Because I did it wrong. Like I messed it up. Here's what's going to happen if you need to do this, and this, and if you don't do in that order, this is going to happen. And you know how I know? Because I did it in the wrong order and I found out what happens. Yeah. And I would tell them that all the time. And I'd be like, don't do this. Like I've done it and it will, do whatever bad outcome. I was like, you know how I know? Because I've done it. It's like,
And I think
what is that insurance company that's like, oh, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
That's it. Is like I have fucked up so many times. I learned from it. Like
that's how people find out, right? It was funny because Jody and I were in the Netherlands, and we were doing some paint correction, and people were very nervous about sanding. And I know wet sanding, really dry sanding, really bothers some people because they're like, ugh. But you're not taking off as much material sometimes as you do with polish. And so if you're using a very aggressive foam pad and a really aggressive compound, you're taking off a lot of material. So to prove a point, we had a junkyard hood, and I sanded and hit it with wool and a really harsh compound.
Really harsh.
6 times until I burned through the clear coat. 6 times. You would never go that much. But we were showing people through a failure of how, if you're doing it right, it does take a lot to do it wrong.
Yeah. No, I learned that. I think I want to say actually it was Alex Russell that he went to a training and he was telling me about it afterwards, and he was like, yeah, we did 2 test spots, like one where someone sanded and polished and whatever, and then another one where they were just using the cut and everything. And they measured like before and after each spot to see how much it actually took off. And when it's done right, the sanding can actually take off less of the clear coat.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, it's cool. I think people just get intimidated by the word sanding.
Yeah.
It's really, and that's so many things in business. So I want to shift a little bit because we've brought you on to the RoadFS Detail Bookie family, in particular, focused on Detail Bookie. And it's been fun for me to join in demonstration calls of Detail Bookie with you because not only have I learned how Detail Bookie can work for you, but there's something that you have shown because of what Detail Bookie can do. In Detail Bookie, you can set up all these different bays, right? So if you wanted to do like all of your RVs on Wednesdays and Thursdays, you could block those out. And then the rest of the week, you could do regular details, right? And I'd never really thought about that from a business standpoint of going, right, I'm only going to do these types of services on these days.
Yeah. So with Detail Bookie, you can set up different bays. And as a mobile detailer, even when I only had like one vehicle, obviously I would only have one bay, you would think, but then you can set it up with multiple bays and set a different schedule, like you said. So let's say, okay, you only want to do RVs on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Well, then you set up a second bay, label it RV, and you block off the schedule, so it's only open Wednesday and Thursday. And then you also block off all the other services that aren't RVs. So you block off your boats, you block off your cars, you block off your planes, whatever you're doing, whatever else you're doing, any other service, block that all off so that only on Wednesdays and Thursdays, if a customer logs on to self-book, that's all it's going to like show that's available.
Well, I love that not only from the capacity of the software, but I also love that from the business model.
Right.
Because I think especially mobile detailers, especially when they're starting out, they're so hungry to get the business that their schedule is chaotic. And sometimes they're like, instead of going, all right, I'm going to only do big jobs on these days, they end up getting a big job at the end of a day on a Tuesday. And then all of a sudden they're working into midnight and maybe 2 a.m., 3 a.m. because they're not managing their work week effectively. What is wrong with my mouth?
Yeah.
Another way that I used the base feature on Detail Bookie is I had when I added a second vehicle to my setup, I had one vehicle that did everything, and then the second vehicle was only maintenance washes. So I set it up that it couldn't do anything else. And on that vehicle, I had a smaller setup. That was actually when I got my van. I kept my SUV and I reduced the amount of stuff that was in the SUV and moved all my main stuff to the van. So the van could do everything. And then the SUV only had less water, not as much as just less chemicals, just like the basics, and less towels, less everything. And I set up the second bay, and the second bay could only take maintenance washes. And so I would send the crew out on that one, and then I would go on the van. And I say crew also because I would only ever have anyone work with at least two people. So no one ever worked by themselves, which a couple of reasons there. One, teamwork. I think that it helps to work with another person. Again, I know that's something that a lot of detailers won't do. They won't work with other people. They just want to do themselves, whatever. I like having two people on every job. And then also safety. So to have a buddy. There's a lot of, especially maintenance washes, where we don't even see our customer. We'll go and the customer either gives us a garage code, or the keys are hidden for us somewhere, or the car is just unlocked in their driveway, and or whatever. We don't even see them. So we show up. We send them the notification on Detail Bookie, we're on the way. We send them a notification when we arrive that we've started. We send them a notification complete when we're done, and we pack up and leave. And I've never even seen them or talked to them. So on jobs like that too, in quiet neighborhoods, there's nobody walking around either. There's no cars driving by. So if something were to happen and like, I don't know, God forbid you didn't have your phone on you, like in your pocket to call for help, you would just be there. And that sounds like a terrible situation, but I didn't really want to risk this. So I had 2 people. So I would have, my shift lead, whoever is like in charge of that team, and then the other team member with them, and they would go in the SUV, do the maintenance washes, and I would be the shift lead and have someone else work with me in the van and just.
Yep. And I think that is just the concept, right? And there's a lot of people out there that aren't on Detail Bookie, aren't on RoadFS. That's totally fine. The concept of those bays and having teams, there's a lot of people that are concerned. I've heard this over and over. I'm a single operator. I'm mobile, and I look so small. I don't know how am I ever going to be successful. The thing about that is if you have those separate bays, or you have, just like you did, a van and a truck, you have different teams. You now appear to be a larger organization. Well, we only do maintenance washes on Mondays and Fridays. Well, we only do ceramics on Tuesday through Thursday. Nathan Warren was a single man shop, but he would say, our team only brings in, you have to have your car here on Mondays. We do all of the wet work on Mondays. On Tuesdays, we do the clay bar. On Wednesdays, we do the paint corrections. And then we do this, and you can pick it up Friday. His operation, it sounds like yours as well, can make it look like it's a whole lot bigger than it is.
Yeah.
And that's good, because if people see different bays, they automatically think, we had one person that was talking to us about online scheduling, and they're like, well, I don't want anybody to see my schedule if I don't have anything booked. I don't want them to see like I'm available every day, Monday through Friday, except for that 1 hour on Tuesday. That looks horrible. And I'm like, well, that's why you would set up and block out time.
Yeah. You could block off block off different times and sort of make yourself appear busier. They actually had a software I used in the past when I first started. There was a I forget what it was called. It was like a fake busy filter, and so it wouldn't show all of your availability at once. One job at a time. Stay focused.
One job at a time. Stay focused.
Exactly,
keep
Michael.
moving.
And I think that's the key is again, you have to define what success is for you. If you can't teach a skill you've learned, you really haven't. That's a really good one. That's a good piece of advice. And I think that's what's great about your journey is you started out at a car wash, but you were also training people. Like you mentioned, training people of how to do it, because then you're elevating them. They don't have to go through all the mistakes that you went through. And that's what I think, like a lot of the organizations that we're involved in, like Detailers of the Roundtable, the intro was at Dan Cummins Chevrolet in Kentucky. And we went through a training there with 26 people, and we CD'd and SV'd, I think. I can't remember how many.
No, that's how many we
that's how many
CD'd
CD'd
and
and SV'd.
SV'd.
26. There were
more than that.
So
Oh my gosh.
the thing about that is
Wow.
you can teach them all that stuff, and you can also learn from them. There's a lot of times when we go to a training that, we're quote training someone, but you learn from them.
I'm always learning.
Because somebody will say something like, well, I do it this way, and you're like, that's
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. You put those in the back of your mind, because then the next time it comes up, you're going to do it yourself. And I think that's where being open to learning new ways and not assuming you know everything, that's really
I fully admit I don't know everything. Like I said, I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two. Okay, that's fine, but I haven't seen everything, right? And I haven't thought of everything, and I don't pretend to. Absolutely. Like I definitely don't know everything.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
admit that.
I think that's one of the reasons why we like you so much, because you're so humble. I mean, you have a wealth of knowledge, and I think sometimes you're like, well, it's like, how much do I say? Because I really want to help you, but I don't want to offend, right? And that's one of the things that I love about you. You just have this great humility and this eagerness to help and serve. And, it was so exciting for us because when we were at Mobile Tech Expo and we made the big announcement and you came up after, hey, I'd like to be part of it. And I just love, like, you're like, look, I'm just willing to help.
Oh
And
my
we're like,
God.
no, we want you to be part of the team.
I was so nervous having that conversation. I came up to you and I was like, I said, I was like, I really excited, that you guys took on Detail Bookie, like really excited that for you guys. And I was like, if you guys are looking for, to bring anybody on, like I'd love to be part of the team. And then you started laughing and I was like,
well, we were laughing.
What have I done? No, I know.
I know that was the thing.
We had said, we looked at it, we were like, we need somebody that knows Detail Bookie because we don't know it, right? And we're like, I'd love to get somebody like Jacki.
Jacki, that was the first thing we said.
You said that, we just were cracking up. We're like, this is
the funny thing was the timing because Rod and I had just literally talked about it, and like 5 minutes later, you walk up and you're like, hey guys, congratulations. and I'm just in the back of my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so serendipitous. So I
thought I had really like messed up. I was like,
oh no.
I just put my foot in my mouth here. I just like,
no, that's my job. That's my job.
But then,
this has been a fun journey for us so far. We've made a few changes. We haven't made any giant, we're not going to make any of those kind of changes, but we are.
No, but we're working on something really, really exciting. I'm just going to give you a hint. We're kind of rebuilding the back end of things, and there has been a request that Detail Bookie have a mobile app, and that may or may not be in the works. So I'm just saying that. So if you want to learn about Detail Bookie in its current state, Jacki is the lady. So we are super excited to have her on board. Like I said, I've been attending a lot of as many as I can because I'm bouncing between Detail Bookie, RoadFS, and Rod is too. RoadFS, the ADA version of RoadFS, we're doing shows and expos, and dude, some days I'm like,
when am I gonna? It's been insane.
It's been insane, but it's been fun, right? So that's why Jacki is here to help us with the insanity and provide an amazing onboarding experience for you guys.
From somebody that's been using
that
it from
actually
the very
knows the
beginning.
software better than anybody other than maybe Dustin Jackson,
Mitch,
maybe Mitch.
I would say you're.
No, I definitely don't know as much as they do.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing is when we actually talked to those guys about somebody that would be good to help us, they both mentioned you. So it was kind of a unanimous thing that would happen, and we're very lucky, and I really appreciate you coming on board.
So this is a Jacki love moment.
That's right. So we're there. You go. So everybody should stay tuned because we're going to do a lot of really exciting things. We're always in the mode of building stuff and adding stuff. Like some people had asked us at Mobile Tech Expo, what we're going to do with it. We're a software company. We have at this point like 15 employees.
With Jacki, we have now
and
15
there's
team members.
Between Jacki, Jody, Rod, and we have one guy named Ben that's on the RoadFS side. Other than those four, the rest of the people are all nerds and they all write code. So we can take on stuff and make changes and do all kinds of fun stuff. So keep that in mind.
Yes.
Next on our list, Jody's going to Mexico.
Yes.
He's going to be doing Detail Expo Mexico.
So mañana me voy a la Ciudad de México para el Detail Expo México. Estaré en el stand 85. So entonces ven acá para verme, para ver el software que estoy aquí para ayudarles en mejorar su negocio con nuestro software y tengo pegatinas especiales para ese evento. So ven acá para verme. So yes, so we will see you guys there. I leave tomorrow.
That's right. So Jody's leaving the house up to me, and
I'll be back Monday night at midnight.
Dang.
So, yeah.
So anyway, I really appreciate you coming on, Jacki. We're really excited, and like I said, Jacki is going to be attending some of the events as well. We're going to be bringing her out to work a booth and show people Detail Bookie, and just kind of get out there and be awesome like you always are. So get a hold of us, detailbookie.com, roadfs.com, Jacki at detailbookie.com.
Or Jacki of all trades 27 on Facebook. I love that. Jacki of all trades. I love that.
Oh yeah, that was from when I first moved to Orlando, and I was doing car wash. I worked in the nightlife industry doing promotions. I did bartending. I was a trade show model for a while as well. I did all kinds of stuff. I did, instead of Jack of all trades, I was Jacki of all trades.
I love that. So in wrap up, is there one or two key things that you think that a mobile detailer should implement in their business to make them more successful?
I mean, not necessarily mobile detailer specific, but I really think that everyone needs some kind of software. And I'm not just saying that just because I use Detail Bookie, but like that was one of the first things that we did not have that at the car wash, and things were disorganized and at times. So definitely like some kind of software. And mobile detailers, I mean, I guess I would really say like rinseless, but maybe I'm biased on that because that was a game changer for my business when I started using rinseless. And I thought of it like, oh my gosh, where has this been the whole time? Why did I not use this sooner? So again, I may be a little bit biased on that, but yeah.
I love that, because if I was doing mobile detail, I would do all rinseless. I would do the same thing. And I want to give a shout out to Mike Scherer. We met him about a year and a half ago. And it's been amazing to watch his transition, his growth. And I know that he's been really doubling down on his personal journey of becoming the man that he wants to be. And it's super fun to watch that growth. So shout out to Michael, because really in the end, right, it's all about growth. It's all about becoming a better person, a better human, which leads you to be a better business owner, a better father, a better mother, better partner, whatever it is, right? It's like when we focus on, leveling up individually, it's amazing the impact that we can have. So shout out to Michael.
So thanks for everybody for tuning in. We will be here every week like we always are.
So we are here next week, the 8th, right? And then the 15th, I'm going to be out of country. Rod's going to be on the show. I think I have a guest already lined up for you, so that'll be fine. Otherwise, it's going to be Rod's Gone Wild again. So please make sure.
Let's
do this.
Hold on. One last question here. Jonathan wants to know, what brands of rentals do you tend to use the most?
So I used Pro the most. Honestly, I didn't start using them in the beginning because they didn't have a rinseless product when I first started using rinseless. But the one that I was using before, and I switched to Pro, I actually had asked my staff one day, and I was like, hey, what do you guys think about the new rinseless? Because I hadn't told them I had switched. And they were like, oh, we didn't know you switched. So it was pretty much identical to the other one that I was using. And Pros is pink, so I kind of had to go, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and Pro
noticed if anything. No. I didn't use it just because it was pink, but it was like,
Yeah, so we get the opportunity to use a lot of them. I was referring to ONR, which Juice Free had mentioned. The ONR's 6th version better be pretty good. It's getting better every time. They're
all getting better, yeah.
They all get better. I will tell you that my daughters, I have got 3 daughters. They all have convertibles, and so they've all had to hand wash for a very long time. And I know their father, and he's an ass. So he makes them hand wash anyway, this guy. So they love it for 2 reasons. One, they love the Pro, both that and the foam, because of the smell and because it's pink. So you got 3 other fans that love it because it's pink, but they do really like the outcome of it. Yeah. And I've used a lot of them. I do like pro stuff. It's good. I like a lot of different ones. So
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I've used
for tuning in.
Well, thank you so much, Jacki. This has been a great conversation. I didn't know some of those early stories of your journey. Those are awesome. And it's just a testament of what can happen when you have a vision, some grit, and you're willing to leverage the tools that you have on your disposal instead of, going into huge debt just to try to win the game. So I love that. So, but anyway, thank you so much. If there's anything that you need from us, you know where we're at. And guys, if you're listening to the show, please go out, like, share, and subscribe. And we will check you the same time just next week.